people of all ages, get your popcorn ready, for we are actually going to witness All Might in action! How's it going there, YouTubers? It's Mr. Zan over here with a brand new Boku no Hero Academy episode review. And for today's discussion, we'll be talking about Boku no Hero Academy episode 12, all entitled to The Hero All Might. Now, this episode, folks, was a purely battle-driven episode in itself. We get to witness All Might in his 100% form. This guy, All Might, is no joke at all. When he gets serious, he means serious business. And when people's lives are on the line, you can clearly tell that All Might really puts himself above the rest of all the other heroes in this whole entire series. Now, in the beginning of the episode, we get to see that All Might had, it leaves off back where All Might had entered the UA Academy, and he sees that Aizawa and 13 and all the students are in dire peril and need someone to be rescued, because the fact that Nobu and Tomura are actually, they're actually decimating the place. Actually, when you take a giant look at it, you get to see that these villains are actually, almost taking over the whole entire place. But then, as the episode continues on, we actually get to see the hero All Might fight against Nomu, and then you actually get to see some of the students actually fight against, you could say, the heroes. They don't necessarily fight as much. It's more along the lines as they actually rescue All Might from the clutches of Nomu and Kurogiri himself in order to help All Might escape. But then from there on, the whole entire episode just focuses all on All Might and him alone against Nomu. Like I said before, this episode was just purely awestruck in determination, purely just battle scenes after battle scene after battle scene. Yes, of course there was dialogue involved in it, but it was just all pumped up motivational dialogue in itself. Tomura's dialogue throughout the whole entire I was gonna say chapter, my mistake, folks. Throughout the whole entire episode was more along the line as to say that he was actually ready, and he was condescending still towards the hero All Might because of the fact that he was still confident against All Might through, you could say, Nomu's actions or his abilities to be able to withstand against All Might. Now, what I liked about this whole entire episode was the fact that we get to witness more of what Nomu actually is, and Nomu actually is he's a human. You could say he's a human, or is he a human? I don't want to give too many spoilers, but basically is the fact that Nomu is basically someone, you could say. He is someone along the line of the fact that has multiple quirks inside of his own body, and basically he has shock absorber, he has a strength enhancer, speed. He has all these quirks in his own body, able to, just so that he can go along the line to face against All Might. And even All Might himself was actually struggling against Nomu throughout the whole entire episode. And that's what made this episode purely entire, because of the fact that we get to see All Might struggle against the villain. He is actually the first villain that we actually get to see All Might have a disadvantage against, because not only because of the fact that the students were around, it's also because of the fact that when he was fighting it, you could say All Might was actually giving it his all, and he was still struggling. But that because of the fact that the way the episode was presented itself, by the way that how the hero All Might's pure will is just never ending. He pushed his limits. That's what I like about All Might. His character is always pushing himself farther and farther away. I personally believe All Might is a great role model in this episode himself. That's the way that, if you don't love All Might after this episode, I just here thinking like, what makes a great character for you? Because of the fact that the hero All Might, he actually even went above and beyond his 100% and went over that, and which also kind of gave a little bit of theory and speculations, the fact that what what is actually All Might's powers too at the same time. What is the source of his powers as well? Because when you look at it, All Might's power to me it looked like strength enhancer, but there seems to be a little bit more involved in All Might's powers. In this episode, it kind of explained that as well, because they even showed like a little scene that where it was kind of like rays of light connecting, kind of like an instant messenger text, you could almost say, and it was dot after dot after dot after dot connecting, and then you literally see All Might. It was basically like a, you could say like a visualization of All Might gaining strength through unknown measures, and all these little dots are representations of an unknown source of power, which I also thought it was actually pretty intense and awestruck. The suspense in the whole entire episode will leave viewers wanting more, because at the end of the episode you actually get to see that yes, All Might does defeat Nomu. Yes, he does. We are all glad, and you have to give a round of applause also to All Might for defeating Nomu in this episode as well. Because the fact that I love how Studio Bones actually went along and did this episode, because the fact that I thought this episode would expand at least to the next episode as well. Because when you read it back in the manga, you're thinking like, oh my god, how are they gonna animate this? This they're probably just gonna do pure dialogue, and they're actually gonna move it on to the next episode. But no, they actually kept it all within one whole entire episode. And I love the fact that the next episode is basically gonna be the final climactic episode against All Might, against the whole entire villains. And also, what I like the fact in this episode as well is also the students themselves. They all are so rebellious. They're all golden shines, and they are also at the fact that when they rescued the hero All Might, because the fact, let me retrace back the steps a little bit, is because the fact that back in the episode, All Might was, yes, he was actually, when he was struggling against it, it looked like the hero All Might he looked like he was about to die against Nomu, and the villains were actually plotting, and they were scheming. They were just doing all that they can to defeat All Might, and it actually very much looked like they were actually gonna win, because the fact that they actually figured out All Might's weaknesses. But because of the, like I said before, the way that the episode was set up, the suspense kept pulling people in over and over and time again. And personally, my favorite part of the whole entire episode was the fact that when the students come in and they rescue All Might, that just shows right there that, you know, the way that the story progression is going on is that without teamwork, you could say that's going to be the downfall of the villains. And that what it kind of was, in a sense, was the villains also, you could say, downfall, because they only depended on so few little members of the team. They didn't depend on the whole entire villains as a whole to go after All Might. They only select few were after All Might, but then again, all the villains were all separate, which I still kind of find out that was a little bit odd in the episode as well. That's why all the villains were still separated when they figured out that All Might finally went in. There should have been a villain in itself that had like a radio transmitter and said, you know, hey, hello, All Might's here. Come on, guys, bring it all together. All Might's here. Now let's go and attack him all at once. But no, it was just basically just Nomu against All Might. And like I said, that entire episode was also awesome. And you gotta remember that I actually loved the way they animated the scene where they actually showed All Might actually going just fist to fist, punch to punch after Nomu, letting Nomu actually absorb all of All Might's attacks as well. And that's what kind of shows that even a quirk has to have limits, and even shock absorb has to have a limit, and that's what it kind of shows. All Might, it literally is the epitome. He's basically the Saitama of this universe. That's what he basically is. He's Saitama 2.0 with a little bit of quirk in him. That's the way I find it. Like, he has more. All Might is like with Saitama with emotion, as in Saitama himself is kind of like you could say like a bored, redundant person, you could say, but with extraordinary powers. But back onto the episode itself. Like I said, at the end of the episode, we're going to actually witness Tomura actually facing off against All Might all by himself. And that's what I actually want to see, is the fact that because they didn't have any sheer, you could say teamwork, it's going to be weird at how Tomura's going to escape out of this scene. And remember, it's only two villains. But I also love the fact that the character progression out of all the students is actually increasing. Like I said before, the students are very progressing very well in each and every episode, that they're outshining themselves over and over and over again. And that's what I like to see about characters in every story arc, is they keep pushing themselves over the limit to show themselves that, that I can become stronger. And this episode exemplifies that. Some characters weren't really, pushing themselves over the limit, but that's because they're in a different state of being, and they're, you could say that they're not necessarily side characters, just that it's not their time to shine yet, because of the fact that they are expecting All Might to do it. But you can clearly tell that Kirishima, Shota, Midoriya, and who was the last one, and Katsuki are actually going to be the only ones that are actually going to, you could say, show a lot of character progression. But that's it for this entire episode. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Tell me, folks, what was your favorite scene? My favorite scene, like I said before, was Nomu and All Might just punching at each other, facing head to head. That suspense, that thrill, that heart racing scene, like I said, was my favorite scene. But folks, let me know what you guys think about it. What do you guys think about what's going to be the next episode in itself? And also, drop down in the comment section, what do you guys think about Nomu himself? What are your thoughts on it? Or do you still like the character still? Is it just another annoying character? Is he dead? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you guys enjoy my content. I will try to post as many reviews out there, and for next week, Boku no Hero Academy reviews. I'll post as much as I can. But like I said, have a splendid day, folks. Happy Father's Day. Love and blessings to all of you. But this is Mr. Zen signing out.